Hello, teachers. Welcome back. And this is part 2 of 3 of our second lesson. Okay. And we're going to jump into our reading. Now, this is the main focus of this particular lesson, this particular 90-minute lesson. And as you can see, there's a lot of fun things happening. And no doubt there's a lot of new vocabulary that students may have never, ever seen before. So not only do you have to review the vocabulary that is in the unit, but you also need to introduce the new vocabulary. So this is why I've called it reading 1. And we're going to introduce this vocabulary to our students right now. Now, I'm going to write it down, tidy, and the kids will then say tidy, shelf, and the kids will say shelf, magic, magic, tidy up, etc. Okay, and even the exclamation, oh no. Again, these are things that students may have heard or they might be kind of familiar with, but they wouldn't necessarily know what it means. Now, this is when it's very important for kids to actually have the translation of it. It saves a lot of time and it makes the meaning far more clear in context. You don't have to labor on this point, but they certainly do need to know what the equivalent is in their own language. Okay, so we've got the vocabulary on the board, and now I'm going to make sure that my students can say those words correctly. And I will play it either in teams or individually. Okay, now we move on to the book. And what I will do then is I'll ask my students to now open up their textbooks. And while the students are opening up their textbooks, I will then say, all right, boys and girls, and I'll introduce to them the 4 characters, Molly, Jake, Toby, and Beth. And while some students are very keen and very attracted by the characters in the book, other students might not even be aware of it at all. So you as the teacher need to make sure that all of the students in the classroom know exactly who Molly, Jake, Toby, and Beth are. And then you can use that definitely in the future to really enhance your teaching. And that is because you will then use the pronouns. You can do possessives, you can do all sorts of great things with learning about characters, third persons. Okay, third person. All right, so now I'm gonna write it on the board, Molly, Jake, Toby, Beth, and maybe I will ask the students, hey, what does Molly look like? Hey, what does Beth look like? Hey, what does Toby look like? Maybe. Just to make sure that there's some kind of connection between the characters and then the students thinking with regards to this. All right, so I'll have the kids then read that 1 page as a class, okay? And I'll say, all right, team A, you're Molly, team B, you're Jake, and team C, you are Beth. Of course, Toby doesn't say anything. Why? Because Toby's a dog. Maybe Toby says woof, woof every now and again, I don't know. But I'll have them read it as 1 page. I will then have my students come up to the front of the classroom, or if it's too much effort, I'll have the students stand up with their books in their hands. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have the students then read. Team A, or a student, will then say, where's my black and white book? B, or student B, team B or student B will say, and where's my pencil case? Okay, they've been assigned the roles. Look, the book is in the bin and the pencil case is on the shelf. Okay, so what we're doing is once the teacher has read it out to the students and the students have all read it as a group, we can then focus in on the individuals or the smaller groups to make sure that their pronunciation and their intonation is good. They cannot read sentences like, and the pencil case is on the shelf. That's not reading, that's just saying the words on the page. We want them to really enunciate those words, and we want them to have cadence, we want them to have liveliness behind their words, okay? Now, in many texts, there are some characters that speak a lot, and there are some characters that really don't speak much at all. So in this particular case, the teacher, and you can see I'm in pink, the teacher will then say Beth's part. Bad dog, Toby, tidy up, okay? Or you as the teacher could reassign that and everybody then says Beth's part. It doesn't matter, but my meaning is this. You need to make sure that you're going to assign and enough content for each group to be able to read and not just have, one kid say one word. Okay, so that's how we're going to do our reading part. Now that'll be then for the first page, and then we do that the exact same thing for the second page. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole story all at the same time. Now we're going to move on to an activity where I've now taken the flashcards and I've moved them down to the bottom of the whiteboard or the chalkboard. And that is because we're going to now have an interactive conversation type game. Now, I brought the flashcards down and I've written down, keep the classroom tidy. Now the students would understand that maybe as an imperative, like, okay, you have to do this. Keep the classroom tidy is something the teacher would say. And we're going to make it into a fun activity. I'm going to now draw something on the board and I'm going to have the kids guess. Oh, teacher, what are you drawing? Teacher, what is that? And I go, can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? And the first student who then shouts out, oh, teacher, it's a cupboard, or teacher, cupboard, whatever. Okay, fine, you get a point, or you get a star, or you get a sticker. All right, boys and girls, what's my next one? Teacher, I know, it's a table. Okay, very cool. What's this one? Teacher, oh, it's a bin. Good job, give them a sticker, give them a point. Now, the reason why you're doing that, obviously, is to make sure that you're having good classroom control. If you turn your back on your students and you're simply drawing pictures, they're going to go crazy. So bring them into the lesson. All right, now we're going to extend our grammar point further and our sentence pattern. So keep the classroom tidy. For example, put the crayon on the table or whatever it is, or put the book in the cupboard. So now I'm going to demonstrate that. And I'm going to say, boys and girls, follow me. Keep the classroom tidy. And everybody says, keep the classroom tidy. Put the eraser on the table. And everybody says, put the eraser on the table. Good. Put the notebook in the cupboard. All right, fine. And then what you could do is you could encourage kids. All right, boys and girls, well, there's only a bin left. Who can tell me? I'm going to choose a sharpener. Can anybody tell me? And then maybe some kids will say, put the sharpener next to the bin, or put the sharpener on the bin. And somebody will say, I know, put the sharpener in the bin. Good job. And then you put the sharpener in the bin. Now, as you can see, as the teacher, I have set it up so that there is in, on, and under. Okay, that is the deal over there. And as you can see, I've got 3 different pieces of furniture. Now, this allows for a fair amount of variety for our students to now be able to have a conversation. So now that I've modeled very, very well, and I'm satisfied that my students know exactly what is expected of them, I bring the flashcards back, and then I ask for some volunteers. So I bring maybe my one student, let's call him Alan, and I say, Alan, all right, Alan, put the whatever crayon in the bin, and then Alan will put the crayon in the bin. Okay, so I've modeled with Alan, and now we have our students who will then come up. And then student A will say, keep the classroom tidy, put the notebook in the cupboard. And then student B will put that notebook in the cupboard. Then student B will say, keep the classroom tidy, put the eraser on the table. And then they'll put the eraser on the table. And then you process all of your students during that conversation time, making sure that they're speaking correctly and making sure that the pronunciation is great. All right, teachers, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you now in the 3rd part. Okay, so join me for part 3 of 3 of lesson 2. See you then. Bye-bye.